The new first-person clip comes as various angles of the incident have been analyzed by Americans around the country, dividing the nation as to whom to blame. Viral video filmed by a witness that spread across social media soon after the shooting captured Good's SUV idling across a residential street where ICE agents were conducting an immigration operation. An officer approached her door and ordered her out. She reversed briefly, then began to drive while turning to her right, prompting the agent, since identified as Ross, to jump out of the way and fire 3 shots into the windshield and then the window as it passed. Other surveillance video obtained by CNN also captured the moment leading up to Good's death, showing her plum-colored SUV pulling into frame and then letting out a passenger before making a turn perpendicular to the street, seemingly in an attempt to block traffic on the road where ICE had been operating.
It's horrible, isn't it? I mean, you look at this and you see here's a mother who gets blown away in her car, and the media is just jumping on top of it and trying to incite people. And the question is, incite people to what? What are you going to do? Are you going to start shooting ICE officers, agents, I mean? Are you going to start shooting people because they're blocking your vehicle? So here we have the situation, and I'm looking at it from the point of view on a higher level, because I'm hoping you're also looking at it from a higher level. Who seeks to benefit from this? And it's wild when you find out that this Renee Nicole Good. She drove all the way cross-state, interstate, in order to participate in something, and she's well known to have been part of ICE Watch. Who is ICE Watch? Oh, who is it funded by, more importantly? It's funded by Open Society. Who is Open Society? My favorite buddy, George Soros. Oh yeah, and his son, the little freak. Yeah, so these people continue to be free because of the amount of money that they have, and they fund chaos in order to reset this country in the socialistic vision that they have. And remember, why is it that the wealthy elites want a socialist or a communist state in every country? I wondered about that. It's just like, because what's the first thing that communists are supposed to be thinking? Is hang the elites, hang the wealthiest, take the riches and spread it amongst the people. Well, that's not what happens, is it? We saw that in Russia, we saw that in Cambodia, we see that in China. The wealthy elites continue to take control. But the thing about a socialist and a communist government, unlike anything, even a monarchy, I've said this before, even a monarchy does not enable the control of such a small group of people to the point that you had the control that you had in Russia under Stalin. You can't get that in a monarchy because you have barons. That's what happened with the Magna Carta. The barons got fed up and said, hey, wait a minute. You keep on doing this to our people, and we won't have any people working in our lands. But with communism and socialism is even more insidious, I think, than communism, because communism gives you the illusion that you have a little bit of power and that you're being taken care of because you're being just social, right? So George Soros is funding, that's his big foundation, is Open Society, and Open Society is funding ICE Watch. So what is ICE Watch doing? ICE Watch is there in order to continue the destruction of the nation by destroying our borders, by having us destroyed by infiltration. And this is documented. And I'm going to give you a link for you to have your own enjoying reading about the UN. There was a document that came out, and it's all about migration and how it's to set up migrating people. Remember, again, here we go with the relocation camps, where you can turn a whole country into a relocation camp. Definitely turn cities into relocation camps. But migrating people so that when you have enough people, you don't have identity within that nation. When you don't have identity within that nation, it's easier to take over that nation. And it's easier for people who don't have an identity towards the Constitution or towards the U.S. government as it was, not as it is now, because it's already been taken. It's over. We have been hijacked. You need to understand, we have been hijacked. The question is, how are we going to take our country back? You're not going to vote it in. As a Marine buddy of mine reminded me, and I remind you, if you could vote in a democratic republic, don't you think that's what our founding fathers would have done? That the colonials would have done that? But you can't. I'll tell you what you can vote in. You can vote in a monarchy. You can vote in a tyranny. You can vote in a dictatorship. But you cannot vote in a democratic republic, which the United States is. We're not a democracy. We are a democratic republic. And if you don't understand that, you need to actually go back and read. Because we are not a democracy. And every time I get fed up with people talking about democracy, democracy is ruled by mob. That is what ICE Watch is all about. That is actually closer to what socialism is all about, where the individual, you, have no rights when it comes to the mob. And the mob, as we saw in Russia, is what takes over in terms of your freedoms. And even the serfs. Even the serfs had more freedoms under a czar than they did under communism. Think about that. And they did that by disarming everybody. They did it by taking away their lands. They did it by taking away their lives. When you put that much faith in a government, you're in trouble. Again, it goes back to the Constitution. And what's happening right now, and it's going to be interesting to see how the corporate media is going to spin this. Because everybody says, oh, she got shot in the face. Well, how do you get shot in the face if you're trying to get away? And why are you trying to get away if you didn't do anything bad? I've been pulled over many times. First thing I do is say, most times because I've been speeding. One of these days I'll show you how to get out of a speeding ticket. It's very easy. Because if the cop's pretty good about it, he says, unless he's actually trying to build revenue for the county or for the city. It's easy. You basically are admitting, okay, yeah, I was speeding. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Won't do that. Okay. Be on your way. Instead, you try to run over people, and you can't shoot somebody in the face unless they're facing you. So we're going to find out what happened. And you see the bullet holes. They're in the front windshield. They're not in the side windshield. They're not in the roll down. They're face on. And the reports that are coming out, we got to verify them, don't know. But the ones we get is that she said she was going to go and take somebody out. She was going to go take these people out. And this is the question I have. As an American, we are descendants of immigrants. Every one of us. Yes, that is true. But once you're in this country, you are no longer an immigrant. You're an American. Because you have gone through the process, the legal process. Nowadays, it's the legal process. In the old days, all it took was for you to get across here in a ship. But the jet age has created an issue where anybody can get here. And even walking across. But when you have an actual out-and-out campaign by the New World Order in order to dilute your culture, dilute your country, in order to make it easier for the power elites to pull something on you, because the people who come here, who didn't go through the process, it's interesting, those who came in legally are actually better educated in terms of the government and the laws and the history of the United States than many natural born, even people like me who have relations that go all the way back to Plymouth Rock and the Mayflower. Right? I've got cousins, I got relatives direct that I can talk to, and I am just blown away by what they do not know about the country our ancestor, our mutual ancestor came to enjoy and create and build. And now being thrown away because, it's just horrible that they're taking out these people. These people they're invaders. They are flat out invaders, whether they're aware of it or not. They didn't come here to make this country better. They didn't come here to make a better life. The ones that came here in this last big giant wave that was under the Biden administration was invited here for the freebies. That's it. When you create a culture that is built more on the freebies, which is what socialism is all about. Remember, they are placating us by keeping us fed just enough so that we don't get hungry and we don't fight. And again, if our founding fathers could have voted in a democratic republic, don't you think they would have? We're in a situation where we have out and out enemies. And these are not even just enemies of freedom in the United States. We're talking about enemies of freedom globally in the world. Of all the people, George Soros, have you heard the interview? Do you remember? I remember it well when George Soros was interviewed by 60 Minutes. And I got a perfect example of a sociopath. If you want to study a sociopath, look at this interview.
Which George Soros am I talking to now? The amoral George Soros or the moral George Soros?
It's one person. It's one person who at one time engages in amoral activities and at the rest of the time tries to be moral.
To understand the complexities and contradictions in his personality, you have to go back to the very beginning, to Budapest, where George Soros was born 68 years ago to parents who were wealthy, well-educated, and Jewish. When the Nazis occupied Budapest in 1944, George Soros' father was a successful lawyer. He lived on an island in the Danube and liked to commute to work in a rowboat. But knowing there were problems ahead for the Jews, he decided to split his family up. He bought them forged papers, and he bribed a government official to take 14-year-old George Soros in and swear that he was his Christian godson. But survival carried a heavy price tag. While hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were being shipped off to the death camps, George Soros accompanied his phony godfather on his appointed rounds, confiscating property from the Jews. These are pictures from 1944 of what happened to George Soros' friends and neighbors.
You're a Hungarian Jew who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
And you watched lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. I was 14 years old. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
In what way?
That one should think ahead, one should understand and anticipate events, and one is threatened. It was a tremendous threat of evil. I mean, it was a very personal experience of evil.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection, but it created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No.
Watching that interview, you see someone who has no empathetic connection to another human being. This is reptilian. When they talk about reptiles, they may look like human beings on the outside, but inside, their emotional part of the brain, it ain't working. Because maybe it's not there. These are reptiles. All they do is just kill, eat, crap, swim away, or crawl away, and move on to the next meal. That's how they run. That's how they work. And we don't want these people in leadership. They're a new line of leadership we've had within the last 50, 60 years. It's pretty freaking crazy. And people don't even recognize it. But everybody's all, ooh, that's the president. Oh, that's the queen. Oh, that's the king. Oh, that's the PhD. Be very leery of title. Title is in order for you to think that they are better than you. which means that if you have a bit of common sense, then you actually can think for yourself. That's a very dangerous thing. Because if you didn't get it from up on high, whether it was from the white castles and the white towers, the pearly towers of the institutions, or through the hypnosis box designed specifically to keep you in line and keep you pacified, you're dangerous. So let's see what happens to Renee Good, or the result of this case. Look at those videos. Yeah, I see videos where it's like he doesn't even look like he's in threat. Then I see another video where he's actually in line with those tires. He's in line with being shot. And the question is, you have to ask yourself, if you see that someone is actually in your mind and you can see that the vehicle is pointed at you, the person's been told to stop, the person's not even supposed to be there, and the only reason is that they're a paid agitator. These are paid agitators. Even the Bolsheviks weren't even that well paid, but they were paid. And Lenin was definitely paid. And it's the same people. It's the central bankers. And we'll talk about George Soros. Do you actually think he's the one in control? Again, if you know about George Soros, he's not in charge. In the same way that you know about Trump, you know about Macron, you know about Bibi. These are politicians, every one of them. It's the people behind them. It's the ones that actually do have the wealth. They're the ones who are running the show. Those are the people I want to know about. Because those are the people, when you can actually target them, that's a good thing. Because then things get done. And it has been done in the past. Go through history. Remember, there's nothing new here. We can look at what's happening right now. Is exactly what happened at the end of, toward the end of World War I with the Bolsheviks. It's the same exact, and I mean the same exact. Remember, these people are not innovative. They're not creative. Once they find something that works, they continue to do it. That's the whole thing about this thing with Charlie Kirk. The assassination with Charlie Kirk. You can go back. It's just like JFK. It's exactly the same thing. You use a patsy. You create incitement. You ridicule people about conspiracy. But what is a conspiracy? Conspiracy is thought to be a bad word. Conspiracy is from the word conspire. A group of people, more than one person, 2 or 3 more people get together in order to create an action. That's all conspiracy is. And if you honestly think that Charlie Kirk was killed by one stupid kid who got involved with a group of people that he thought was representing his side that he agreed with, and we do have more and more stupid people because our public school system has been trained and conditioned to crank that out. Remember, John D. Rockefeller is the one who initiated the new designs on our education system way, way back when. In his own words, I don't want thinkers, I want workers. Take that to heart with your public school system, because they bought it, they paid for it, and now, and for the last 50, 60 years, we've been paying for it. Get educated. I try to give you links. Go read the stuff. When I read the stuff, I gotta laugh. I mean, you gotta just laugh. I mean, for you guys who understand, you've been in combat too. You go through it, you get back, and you realize how freaking lucky you were, because you saw the people, your buddies, who weren't that lucky. And that also gives us responsibility. And for those of you who have been in combat, I hope you take that to heart, which is most of us fought for this country, and some of us ended up realizing we weren't fighting for this country. They were fighting for outside individuals who have no respect for the country, the Constitution, or the American citizen, but found out that they could get a lot of wealth out of the patriotism and the honor of a large group of people throughout the world. Actually, there are a lot of honorable people within this world, and those are the ones I'm reaching out to. Those are the ones who are honorable, who are courageous, and think for themselves and understand the origins of this country that Edward Griffin, G.M. Griffin, has tried to educate us on in terms of the difference between a collectivism and a individualism and an individualistic community, which is that you are focused on in strengthening yourself, making yourself the best person that you can be, and joining with other people. And that's what makes a nation. That's what healthy individualism is. Collectivism, on the other hand, is, we can't do anything unless the mob tells us it's okay. That's what collectivism is. That's what socialism is. That's what communism is. These were created in order to get us to not think critically, to not think individualistically, to not think clearly, and to look clearly and see what is really happening, as compared to being played emotionally about a woman who was not supposed to be there, who basically ignored the fact that she had children, because basically that's what she did. She not only has sacrificed their mother, who will not go back, because she wanted to go into this because that made her feel like she was fighting for something, when in reality she's been played upon to aid the enemies of this country and aid the enemies of the American citizens. And if you're in Sweden, and if you're in Denmark, if you're in, one of my favorite new follows that I've followed and subscribed on YouTube is the same Sanity for Sweden.
Good morning.
I like that guy. He got me thinking about, hey man, I might change my format. Let's talk direct. This is what it's about. We all communicate with each other, and connect with each other, and get things across, things that I don't know that you get across to me. I'm going to be talking about a subject that requires a lot more in-depth than I said I was going to talk about with one of my followers who made a point today, because it's actually quite in-depth, and basically it's how the U.S. government is able to inform you or propagandize you. And this is related to an act. And how is that used nationally and internationally? And remember who plays these games with our education system. It's the Carnegie Endowment, and it's the Rockefeller Foundation. These people are playing with us. If you have never read the book Pawns in the Game, I would highly, highly recommend it. It was by Admiral, Commander. He was in the British Navy in World War I. And then he became a commander in the Canadian Navy in World War II. And he wrote a book called Pawns in the Game. And when I first started reading that book, I could not believe it. I thought, this is totally wacky. This can't be true. And then I just paid attention, because once somebody wipes off the lens on your camera and you're seeing clearly, the shots that you get just floor you. The images are amazing when you look at them through an educated lens. So check out Pawns in the Game and The Empire of the City by E.C. Knuth. Two very, very impressive books. Because when we start going back into Venezuela, we're going to start finding out that the reason we really went into Venezuela is because of Israel. And why Israel? Why is it that Brazil and Israel are not too friendly? And Venezuela are not too friendly with Israel. But Israel has somehow made these really wonderful relationships with Argentina under Milei, which again I thought was a French name. Milei. C'est ton Milei, oui? No, it's Milikowski. Yeah, da. So, you go from Milikowski, you go to Chile, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, and you look at these countries who have central banks heavily tied. So it's a central banking issue. And when you understand the central banking issue under the city of London and the Bank of England, and the history of the Bank of England, aka the City of London. I mean, it's kind of like, does the president have to ask for permission to enter Washington, D.C.? How many people know that the monarchy has always had to ask permission in order to enter the City of London? Did you know that? Did you know how far back that goes? I mean, we're going back to, as I recall, it's actually Henry Longshanks. If you watch Braveheart, that's the bad guy, played by Coogan, the Scottish actor. So check out those books, and I'm going to give you a link down below. Absolutely read that UN document. That'll explain to you why this is an idiocy. Anybody who will go and try to obstruct ICE from getting these people out of here, because it's an attack on the American people. And all that's happened in France, in Deutschland, in Sweden, those are attacks. I mean, look at the city of Malmö. In Malmö in Sweden. How fucked up is that? No nation has ever been conquered from the outside. I repeat that. No nation has ever been conquered from the outside. If that would have happened, North Vietnam would have been decimated. Right? On that note, I'll be back on Monday. I hope you're coming over to Substack and subscribing. I'm going to be coming out with a new document. And you don't have to pay to subscribe over there, but you're going to have some good content coming this week. I'm going to start releasing documentation to help you get further squared away. Because this is going to get even hotter. They're really good. Remember, they've been setting the bed. They've been laying down the ground fire on this. They've been hitting the beach, just pounding that beach with artillery for decades. Everybody's totally conditioned. And soon, the activation of their troops coming onto the beach is just going to be insane. And I hope that you are ready. And I hope you have been building community that is going to assist you, because you cannot be the lone mountain man. I always use the story of the lone mountain man. All those lone mountain men that freaking went off and they're going trapping beaver, and they were going to go live like Jeremiah Johnson. Do remember that Jeremiah Johnson married into a tribe. The smart ones married into tribes. So they had community, and they had local community. Very important. The ones who didn't do that, and they were just total loners, yeah, you don't hear their story because they got cut short. So on that note, have a great weekend. God bless. Stay safe. Keep your powder dry. I always do. Talk to you later. Cheers.